What if your most boring skill, the one people overlook, the one you think is worthless, was actually a secret key to a multi-million-dollar fortune? I'm not talking about coding, or AI, or complex stock trading. I'm talking about the ability to research, the ability to write a clear, professional email. Sounds simple, right? Sounds like a $20 an hour gig. Today, I'm going to tell you about Eleanor Vance. At 52 years old, Eleanor was a public librarian in a small Ohio town, earning $45,500 a year. After a gray divorce, she had lost her house, her savings, and her future. She was invisible, and about to be laid off, replaced by a database. Today, she is 55. She is the founder of a silent, invisible agency that generates $1.8 million a year. Her clients? Some of the most powerful VPs and CEOs in Silicon Valley and New York. Her product? She helps them sound smart. This is the story of how a 52-year-old woman, with no business background, no tech skills, and no connections, turned a $50 resume edit into a $75,000 consulting package. Her journey is a roadmap. It proves that you don't need a new flashy idea to get rich. You just need to take an old, reliable skill and sell it to people who have a very, very big problem. Pay attention, because you might just have the same boring skill as Eleanor. And by the end of this, you will never look at your resume the same way again. 3 years ago, Eleanor Vance's life was defined by the sound of a rubber stamp. Thump, 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 thump. Her alarm went off at 5:45 a.m. She lived in a small one-bedroom apartment with beige walls and a view of a parking lot. The apartment cost $1,400 a month, a terrifying chunk of her $45,500 salary. She'd make instant coffee and drive her 12-year-old Honda to the Westview Public Library, where she had worked for 22 years. She was a research librarian. People came to her desk and asked questions. Can you help me find a book on Roman history? How do I use the new microfiche? Where is the bathroom? She was good at her job. She was meticulous. She was patient. She was also completely and totally invisible. Just 6 months earlier, her life had been different. She'd had a house, a marriage of 25 years, a shared savings account. Then came the gray divorce. It's what they call it when couples split after 50. It was quiet, civil, and financially devastating. The house was sold. The assets were split, and after the lawyers, there was almost nothing left. Eleanor at 52 was starting over, with $12,000 in her savings account and a job that was dying. Her new boss, a 28-year-old with a business degree, had called a staff meeting. He used words like digital first, restructuring, and community-facing assets. He announced they were sunsetting the physical research desk. People just use Google now, Eleanor, he'd said, not unkindly. She wasn't just losing her job, she was becoming obsolete. She would go home at night and scroll through job sites. Entry-level social media coordinator, digital marketing assistant, all paying less than her current salary, all asking for skills she didn't have. She felt a cold, quiet panic. She was 52. Who was going to hire a librarian? She was a relic, a walking encyclopedia. In a world that had Wikipedia, she had maybe 6 months of severance pay to look forward to. And then, nothing. She was trapped, and she was terrified. Scene prompt 1. The ahas moment. Cinematic close-up. It's late. Eleanor, 52, is in her small, dim apartment. Her laptop illuminates her worried face. On one side of the screen is her nephew's messy, jargon-filled resume. On the other, the About Us page of a sleek tech company. Her eyes, sharp and focused, dart back and forth. We see her highlight a phrase on the company's page, scalable integration, and then meticulously retype a line on the resume to match it. A tiny, almost imperceptible spark of an idea forms in her eyes. This is not editing, this is translation. The turning point didn't feel like a turning point. It felt like a favor. Her nephew, Alex, a smart kid in his late 20s, called her. He was a mid-level manager at a tech company, and he was applying for a big promotion, a VP position. "Aunt Ellie," he said, "I know you're like a super editor. Can you just clean up my resume? I'll pay you." Eleanor agreed. She needed the money, even if it was just $50. Alex emailed her his resume. It was a mess. It was full of tech jargon and buzzwords that meant nothing. Eleanor looked at it and sighed. But then, she did the only thing she knew how to do. She researched. She didn't just check for spelling. She went to the website of the company Alex was applying to. She read their About Us page. She read their last 3 press releases. She read the LinkedIn profile of the CEO. She spent 3 hours identifying their company language. They didn't talk about managing teams. They talked about developing human capital. They didn't talk about new projects. They talked about driving scalable integration. It was all nonsense. But it was their nonsense. Eleanor took Alex's resume, and line by line translated his experience into the exact language of the company he wanted to join. She led a team of coders into spearheaded a human capital initiative to drive scalable software solutions. She sent it back to him. He called her an hour later. He was screaming, "Aunt Ellie, this is incredible. It sounds like them. It sounds like I already work there." He got the interview. 2 weeks later he got the job. A job that came with a $50,000 raise. He sent her $200, not $50. But he also gave her something else. He called her a week after he started. "Aunt Ellie," he said, "I have a weird question. My new boss, the CEO, he's a genius, a literal genius, but he cannot write. He writes emails like a 5th grader, and he's supposed to give a keynote speech next month. He's terrified." Eleanor paused. What are you asking, Alex? "He needs you. He needs what you did for me. He needs to sound as smart as he actually is. He asked me if I knew a ghostwriter. I told him I knew something better. I told him I knew a translator." This is the moment that separated Eleanor from every other editor on the planet. She met the CEO. Let's call him Marcus. Marcus was 40, fast-talking, brilliant, and chaotic. He didn't need an editor. He needed a thought partner. He gave Eleanor a 45-minute brain dump of all his ideas for the keynote. Just a mess of concepts. Eleanor went home. She didn't just write a speech. She researched the conference. She researched the other speakers. She researched the audience. She structured his messy ideas into a powerful 20-minute narrative. She found 3 obscure, powerful statistics from academic journals to back up his hunches. She wrote the speech. She sent it to him. He was stunned. This is what I was trying to say." He delivered the speech. It got a standing ovation. He emailed her the next day. "What do you charge? I want you on retainer." Eleanor had no idea. She had never been on retainer. She thought about her $45,500 salary. That was $21 an hour. She typed, "My rate is $75 an hour." Marcus wrote back instantly. "Great. I'm putting you on 20 hours a week, starting now." Eleanor stared at the screen. $75 an hour. 20 hours a week. That was $1,500 a week. $6,000 a month. $72,000 a year. For 20 hours of work, from her apartment. It was almost double her library salary, for half the work. But this was just the beginning. The real number, the $1.8 million number, that came from a much bigger realization. For 6 months, she was Marcus's secret weapon. She wrote his internal emails. She wrote his LinkedIn posts. She prepped him for board meetings. He was so impressed he told 2 other CEOs in his network, "You have to meet Eleanor. She's not a writer. She makes you sound like a genius." Suddenly, Eleanor had 3 high-powered clients. She was working 60 hours a week from 5 a.m. until 10 p.m. And she was making $18,000 a month. That's $216,000 a year. She walked into the library. She gave her 2 weeks' notice. Her boss was shocked. "Eleanor, where are you going?" "I've started a small consulting business," she said. She was 53. She was a business owner. But here's the first hurdle. She was making great money, and she was more miserable than ever. She was a freelancer, not a founder. She was still trading her time for money. A lot of money, but still time. If she stopped writing, the money stopped. She was in a golden cage. The clients were demanding. They'd text her at 10 p.m. Need this email for 7 a.m. She was burnt out. She realized she hadn't built a business. She had just built a high-paying, high-stress job. This is where she made her $1.8 million decision. Scene prompt 2. The $75K proposal. Cinematic shot. We see Eleanor in her new beautiful home office, the one from the thumbnail. She's on a video call with a new high-powered potential client. The client, a woman, 40s, sharp suit, looks skeptical. So, Eleanor, what's your package? Eleanor takes a breath. She doesn't look like a nervous librarian. She looks like a consultant. She shares her screen. It's a polished PDF. The 6-month authority accelerator's $75,000. The client's eyes widen, but then she slowly nods, impressed. Okay, when do we start? Eleanor smiles. The deal is closed. She's no longer selling time. She had to stop selling hours. She had to start selling a product, a system. She looked at what all her clients wanted. They didn't want writing. They wanted authority. They wanted to be the one voice in their industry. So Eleanor built a package. She called it the C-Suite Authority Package. It was a 3-month engagement. It included 12 LinkedIn thought leadership articles, 4 internal memo drafts, and 1 keynote speech. She based the price on the value it gave the CEO, not the hours it took her. The value of a CEO being seen as a visionary. That was worth hundreds of thousands in investor confidence. Her price? She was terrified. She quoted her next client $25,000. The client said yes, without blinking. She had just made half her old annual salary, in one single transaction. The real explosion happened when she stopped being a freelancer and became an agency. She was drowning in work. She couldn't take on any more clients. So she thought, who else is like me? Who else is smart, meticulous, and obsolete? She went out and hired 2 people. Not 25-year-old copywriters. She hired a 58-year-old former journalist who had been laid off. And she hired a 62-year-old corporate librarian who had taken early retirement. They didn't know social media, but they knew research. They knew how to be precise. They knew how to be discreet. She trained them in her system. The Vance method: 1. Research the executive. 2. Research their audience. 3. Translate their genius. She was no longer the writer. She was the founder. She was selling her process, not her time. She raised her prices. The $25,000 package became the $75,000 Authority Accelerator Package. It included a book proposal. It included media coaching. It included a full year of thought leadership. And CEOs paid it. They paid it gladly. Because she was solving their biggest, most expensive problem, their time and their reputation. They had the money. They had the ideas. They had no time to write. Eleanor sold them their time back. And she made them sound brilliant. So where is Eleanor Vance today? She is 55. Her agency, the Vance Group, is a team of 12, all remote, all overlooked professionals. Her words: over the age of 45. They service a rotating waitlist-only client list of 25 CEOs and VPs. Last year, her agency's gross revenue was $1.8 million. Her personal net worth is climbing fast, estimated at over $3.2 million. She lives in a stunning penthouse condo in Chicago, overlooking the lake. The one she bought with cash. She has a library so big it would make her old boss's jaw drop. Scene prompt 3. The full circle. Cinematic. Warm shot. Eleanor, 55. Dressed in the elegant cream sweater from the thumbnail, stands at a podium. But she's not at a tech conference. She's in a beautifully renovated, modern public library. She is the keynote speaker and guest of honor. She is presenting a large check from the Vance Foundation to fund a new digital literacy program for seniors. She is confident, fulfilled and smiling, that same warm, powerful smile. She is no longer invisible. She is on the board of 3 nonprofits. She is a silent partner in 2 tech startups run by her former clients. She is the secret weapon that CEOs whisper about at conferences. She is the obsolete librarian. The boring skill of research and writing, when applied to the right audience, made her a multimillionaire. So what is the replicable strategy? How do you do this? You don't have to be a librarian. You just have to have a soft skill. Step 1. Audit your boring skills. Are you a great organizer? That's operations consulting for chaotic founders. Are you a great researcher? That's market intelligence for C-suite execs. Are you a great clear writer? That's authority branding for VPs. Stop calling it writing or organizing. Start calling it by its high-value name. Step 2. Find a high-value problem. Stop trying to sell your skill to people with no money. The local bakery doesn't need a $10,000 thought leadership package. A venture-backed CEO does. Find the people who have a massive, expensive problem. CEOs don't have time. VPs need to build a reputation. Founders need to sound smart for investors. Your boring skill solves their expensive problem. Step 3. Productize your process. Stop selling your hours. Build a package, a system, a roadmap. Give it a powerful name. The 30-day LinkedIn authority. The Founder's Focus Package. Sell the outcome, not the work. This is how you go from $21 an hour to $25,000 a project. Eleanor Vance wasn't a genius. She wasn't lucky. She was 52. She was broke, and she was about to be unemployed. She just took the one skill she had, the one she'd been told was worthless, and she pointed it at a multi-billion-dollar market that was starving for it. Your experience is not a liability. Your age is not a weakness. It is your unfair advantage. You see the problems the 25-year-olds miss. The only question is, what are you going to do about it? If this story lit a fire in you, hit that subscribe button. Because the story I have for you next week is about a 34-year-old nurse who turned a simple what-if question into a $9 million e-commerce empire. In 18 months. You are not going to want to miss it. Your opportunity is waiting.